just want to go briefly through the history of how we actually came about, how the Bedford Writing Competition came about. We can say that it started off actually in about 2013. It wasn't called Bedford Writing Competition then. We thought that we would try and run a short story competition within Bedfordshire, just keeping it quite small. Effectively, what we were doing is putting our toe in the water to see, one, are we capable of running a competition, and two, do we enjoy doing it? The results of that were we had a number of entries. I wouldn't say it was a huge number, but it was enough to encourage us to think, well, we can actually do better than this, but we have lessons to learn. And some of the lessons we learned, we took into the 2014 competition. For a start, we decided that we really needed to have a dedicated website, because if we want to spread the word to the world, effectively, the best way of doing it these days is through the internet. And the other is to have a prestigious judge for the competition. And we're very pleased that Lee, when we approached her, was delighted to take on that job. And she's not only just done the judging, she's also been very good at supporting us throughout the whole process of this competition. So we learned those two lessons and we decided let's go ahead. And I suppose the next thing was that we needed a fair amount of effort and time on our part, on the organising committee's side, so that we actually overcame the problems as they came along. It has been hard work, and I think anyone knows that to work in a committee you don't always agree, but we agree, we disagree, we learn from what we like, we are constructive in our disagreement, shall we say that. And it's really, that's the key to it, because if you disagree it means that something can be done better, and we've learned from that as well. The main aim of the competition has been to raise money for charity. It's totally non-profit making. All the effort that's been put in by everybody involved has been voluntary, and we'd like to say a big thank you to everybody for that, including Lee, our readers. It's all been a voluntary effort, and we wouldn't have worked without you. But besides the aim of raising money for charity, we also wanted to enjoy ourselves, make sure it was fun, and not just fun for us, but fun for the writers as well. And we want to try and set ourselves apart from other competitions. There's a number of major writing competitions in the UK, but we wanted our competition to have a personal touch to it, so that if you asked a question, how does this work, can I do this, can I do that, we would write back to you, we'd do it promptly, we'd do it in a friendly manner, we'd want to ensure that you felt we valued you, because we do. It's writers that are making this competition. We are simply the people behind it. One of the biggest challenges we came across was that we had no idea how many entries we were going to receive. From day one, we had a number of entries coming in, and that was a steady trickle. It slowly got built up and built up, and by the time that we actually got to the end of or the closing date for entries, it was actually torrential of entries coming in. We think, all right, we've put our toe in the water, we saw the water rising to our knees, now it's up to our necks. This is where the readers came in, and they were stalwart, because they actually took on the extra work, which we hadn't predicted, we couldn't predict, but we'd said, would you do a little bit extra? And they all said yes, and they helped us through that emergency sort of situation. So again, thank you very much. You took us out of a panic situation and made it work. I just want to take a minute now to look to the future. We're going to run another competition for 2015. That'll be launched in a few months' time. And again, we want to learn from what has happened in 2014. The two things which we probably will change is, one, we're going to increase the prize money. So next year's winners will actually receive a little bit more. And we're also going to introduce what we're calling a Bedford prize. Now, we are proud of the fact that we call ourselves a Bedford Writing Competition. Proud mainly because it is Bedford, and we all either live or work or play in Bedford on the organising committee. And we want that to be a focus so that the rest of the country, the rest of the world, if they actually look at our website, are aware of where Bedford is and what happens there. So as part of our promoting Bedford next year, we're going to have what we call the Bedford Prize. And this will be given to the entry from Bedford in the main competition, who actually is judged the best of the Bedford entries. So it'll be an extra prize on top. So if you come from outside of Bedford, I'm afraid you're not going to win that prize.
Or you can move to Bedford.
Or you can move to Bedford. And I can assure you it's a good move. But now, having mentioned Bedford, and mentioned it a few times, I think it's appropriate I should actually hand over to Mayor Dave Hodgson, who he's been mayor since 2009, but has lived in the town for 30 years, I think, so some time. Lived in both the north and the south of the town, gone to many of the, or a number of the Bedford schools. So I don't think there's anybody here more qualified to give us an insight into Bedford and it's all the good things about it. So I'll hand over to you, Dave.
Thanks very much. It's a bit like when I was at the Heritage Lottery Fund, and I was given 2 minutes to give a history of Bedford. I declined I think it's a little bit more than 2 hours, 2 minutes to do that. But it's a real pleasure to be here tonight, where the Bedford Writers Competition has actually, we're judging or hearing who the short story competition winner is. And Bedford's got a rich and diverse cultural landscape, and it's thanks to the fantastic efforts of local volunteers, we've heard about some of those now, that this competition has happened. I just want to thank them all for the huge amount of work they've done. Just heard what some of the readers, what readers' spouses have been roped in to do all kinds of stuff. And that's really good. And it's allowed the name of Bedford to be attached to a worldwide competition for high quality writing. And here in Bedford Borough we have many local amateur and professional writers, all of whom make that diverse cultural landscape what it is. 2014 was an exciting year culturally for Bedford for a number of reasons. With the literary highlight being the inaugural Bedford Children's Book Festival, which was hosted in the newly opened and redeveloped Higgins Bedford, the Art Gallery and Museum. And it was actually in 2013 we opened that. I can remember a meeting where we were meant to open in spring, and spring ends on the 20th of June, and I said, why don't we just delay it and open it on the 21st of June, the longest day, and we'll open it from dawn to dusk. And they said, well, nobody wants to be there. Who will be there at dawn? I was Googling to find out when dawn was, and I hadn't got the answer by the time I said, well, if nobody else will, I will. And just as I said that, it saw 4:40 a.m. Later to be told that was actually sunrise and dawn was actually 4:10 a.m. But that's a massive number of people. If you haven't been to Higgins Bedford and some of the exhibitions we have there, it really is a great use of just under £6 million. Lots of people going, and we're trying to use it for more and more events. We've also got, in terms of the Bed Fringe, which is sort of a lot of acts try out their act in Bedford before going on to Edinburgh Fringe, or just try some acts out to come here. We've been known as Comedy Central by some of the comedy acts we now get in the Corn Exchange, and we're now, I think, in our 3rd or 4th year of the Bedford Film Festival, which is showing some array of films, but also filmmaking techniques, so getting people involved in what it takes to make film. The thing that actually probably I'm proudest of, though, is the diversity across the whole borough. I was at Stevington today, which is a small village. We've just given some money for them to upgrade their boiler so the village hall can be warm and double glazing, so people doing Pilates or watching performances can stay warm. And they're adding to it, as well as having some performances. I must admit the pictures of Cinderella didn't look much like Cinderella. There's some Stevington interpretation. But they just decided they're going to have a film club there and actually setting it up to show film there. And the ability for places in the town to have a whole range of cultural views. We're very bad at telling people, though. Went to Upperdene, my favourite story, went to Upperdene, a great arts festival, 50 different artists displaying. Unless you were on the road to Aberdeen, you wouldn't know what's happening. And if any of you know where Aberdeen is, it really only leads to Aberdeen or Lower Dean. And what we need to do, I get invited to a lot of things, and I'm really pleased to do that, probably more than most. And many of these things I don't know about. So what we need to do is shout more about all the exciting things that are going on in the borough, because there's a huge array of talent and exhibitions and events you can go to. So that makes me very proud, but we need to make sure we're all involved in that. So just watch out for things that are happening in Bedford. Keep an eye on. We're trying to make sure we actually advertise them more. But my role this evening is where I get to be popular, because I get to present a couple of cheques, which is always quite good, but to well-deserving organisations. But before I do so, can I congratulate again all the volunteers who have made this happen. I'm always amazed by the number of volunteers that actually engage in all kinds of things across the borough. So thank you very much to all of those. It really is appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first cheque that we're going to give out of the proceeds from the competition is to the Retirement Education Centre, Bedford, otherwise known as the REC, popularly known as that. For those of you who are not aware of what this is, but the REC is a place where people like myself, anyone over 50, and I'm only just over 50, can go and take on a completely new subject if they want. I'm learning French. There's a lot of people go there, they do art, they can even do Pilates and all sorts of things. And it's one of those places which actually is very useful to people who are either approaching or are retired. It is a charity. It's dependent on charitable contributions. And we're very pleased that we've managed to raise some money from the competition that can go to that organisation. I asked Marion Wall to come forward, please, and that's the cheque for...
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There we go. Thank you.
I'm an unworthy substitute for Benta, who should be here, and so I've been drafted in, but it's a great pleasure to accept this. Because, of course, one of the greatest writers in the world was born in Bedford. I've just said hello to him as I cycled past. As we share the same birthday, I always feel I have to say hello, but it was very nice. And thank you very much. I'm sure... do I hand it back to you or what? Will I get to take it home?
Take it home.
Suggest
Thank
you
you
put it
very
in
much.
the bank immediately.
Thank you.
And the next cheque is for £100, which is going to St Joseph's Lower School. And this, I'm told, the St Joseph's are revamping and extending their library, and they're also themselves intending to run a writing competition. And the money from that they will receive will actually be part of the prize that that competition will generate. Okay. I'd like to ask Kate Martin, who's the school manager from St Joseph's, to come forward and receive the cheque, please.
Thank you very much indeed. No, it will be used for the children. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.